Welcome to the Sustainability Nugget podcast. I am Rarisu Maribi.
And I am Tosin Falarisha.
On this podcast, we'll learn about sustainability by discussing various related topics while focusing on three pillars: the economy, the society, and the environment. Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of the Sustainability Nuggets podcast. So before we start today's episode, I want to officially introduce my new co-host, Tosin Falarisha. So Tosin is not new to this branch. She's not new to Green Club. She's not new to the Sustainability Nuggets podcast. She has featured in several videos in the past. But now she's a couple, like 3, 4, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even when you're not in, sometimes she has helped me in recording. Like, she has been part of it, honestly. So, but now she's now officially here as a co-host. So you'll be seeing me and her in episodes for the Sustainability Nugget podcast. Sometimes you still see only me, but sometimes you see only her. We might interview people separately, but just know we're now working together.
Yeah, and behind the scenes, I'm your official project manager.
Yeah, so she's not just a coach, she's a project manager. So if you've noticed anything about how organized this podcast is now, it's Tosin. Tosin has been being a proper project manager. So thank you. And I'm really glad that you're on here. So to today's episode, today we are starting a new series on business opportunities in waste. The global waste management market is currently valued at $1.6 trillion. Are you excited, Tosin? Is that what you do when you get excited?
Yeah, I dance most of the time. What do you do when you get excited?
I do the same thing, but I turn on the camera and record myself dancing.
No, mine is private in my room, on my own.
Okay. So in the first part of the series today, we'll go over how waste is currently being managed in different parts of the world and give an overview of opportunities to build wealth from specific waste materials like food, paper, and electronics. In later episodes, we'll dive deeper into the values that can be tapped from these individual materials.
So we're doing food, paper, and electronics. This looks like it's going to be a long series.
Yeah, maybe we would have started a waste business by the time we complete this series.
Oh, if that's the goal, I'm up for it.
Yeah,
I'm up for the challenge.
So, but a quick warning to listeners before we continue: we are not sharing a get-rich-quick scheme here. Just as you would with any other business, it is important to do your market research before jumping in. So, Tosin, why are we having this conversation in the first place about making money from waste?
We're having this conversation because waste is an intricate part of our lives. We throw away stuff very often without really thinking about what value may still be in that item. Alright, so I'm sure you've thrown away something today.
It's still early in the morning. But I'll probably throw away something when I eat.
Okay. Is that like food waste? Like you actually don't finish your food and you throw it away?
It's bad. It's a bad habit, but yeah, mostly do not finish my food. Yeah.
Okay.
Sad.
Yeah, you can be better. So either eat your food in small bits, or something I also do sometimes is if I can't finish my food, I would put it in the refrigerator and try to eat it later. But the most that works for me is having my food in small bits so that if I want more, then I'll go for more.
Okay. So have you trained anyway today?
Today, it's still, actually it's not morning anymore, but I haven't because I've been trying to record this too. I've not had breakfast. Maybe later I would have tossed a milk carton or junk meal because I get a lot of that. And if I do get to cook, I could have some food scraps like onion peels or something to throw away. Yeah.
Okay.
What agitates me the most about waste is that there's so much energy that goes into making materials or making products. I mean energy in terms of labor, electricity, and transportation, and all of that also contributes to emissions. But after a short use of that item, that's the end. But is it really the end?
Yeah, is it really?
Yeah. The World Bank reports that we are currently generating 2 billion tons of waste. And high income countries contribute about 34%, though they only make up 16% of the world population. Global waste management is expected to grow up to 3.4 billion tons by 2050 as income levels increase. So things like rapid urbanization, population growth, and economic development will push the global waste generation to increase by 70% over the next 30 years.
So yeah, because population is growing, waste generation will obviously increase, and that means discarding of waste will increase too. Yeah.
Yeah. So especially as urbanization and economic development grows in the sub-Saharan parts of Africa, Middle East, and Asia, we'll have, and as population increases, as you mentioned, yeah, we'll have more waste being generated.
Yeah. So how is waste managed in different countries around the world now?
So I'll start with high income countries. So Western countries like US, Britain, and most of Europe, they have organized waste collection systems, often managed by local authorities, and the waste is either collected to be recycled, incinerated, or for power, which is waste to energy, or landfilled. Most of the waste management economy is really dependent on garbage collection and disposal services.
So what about recycling?
So things don't get recycled in most European countries, unfortunately. They are actually shipped to other countries like Asia to be recycled.
China, yeah.
Yeah. So if you say like collection of recyclables as a business, yes, that's something. That's part of garbage collection. Paper recycling could probably get a pass mark, but there's so much more we can do to create a circular economy. Like I feel there's so much more that these Western countries can do to, not only like collect those waste, but actually make them into new products. So an interesting fact, it costs the New York Department of Sanitation almost $500,000 annually to export its refuse to waste to energy facilities and landfills in Pennsylvania and South Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah, that's their budget. Wow. And the same amount is spent by communities in the state of California to keep trash out of the waterways. So try to imagine how much other states in the US spend on waste processing and disposal. So like waste management budget is huge in most Western countries. On a larger scale, yeah, as I mentioned, most Western countries actually export their waste to other countries in Asia. So they don't have many like remanufacturing processes that occur there.
Interesting. So what happens in developing and low income countries?
The system is mostly open landfill systems. That's what's common in those places. So over 90% of waste is openly dumped or burned in those areas. And often it is the poor and most vulnerable parts of the population that are disproportionately affected. The World Bank reports, I am again citing the World Bank because that's where I got most of this research from. But in recent years, the World Bank reports that landslides of waste dumps have buried homes and people under piles of waste. It is the people who live near the waste dumps that power most of the crude recycling systems that occur in such countries. So they don't really have like sophisticated recycling systems or processing or waste processing systems like in other high income countries. So it's the poor people that would go through like waste picking and scavenging. And this makes them susceptible to serious health issues. Another problem with open landfill system is that most of the trash consists of organic materials which get broken down into methane. Although methane does not last as long in the atmosphere as CO2 does, it is far more effective at absorbing the sun's heat and contributing to global warming?
Sure. So yeah, methane stays just like 10 years, 5 to 10 years. CO2 stays like 100 years, but methane is like 28 times more effective than CO2 in capturing it. And so that's like the main greenhouse
That's
gas
the issue.
causing it. Yeah. So even apart from like methane being produced and all, there are contaminants in this waste, right? When you get discarded, there's a lot of contaminants. And in an open landfill that is not controlled, that is not prepared, these contaminants can seep into the soil, seep into water bodies, and even like with the ones that can vaporize, get into the air and cause all sort of diseases for the people around. So it really reduces the standard of living of those people around those open landfills. So it looks like we are just not doing enough to address waste in our lives, because the end of life is often not in front of our minds. During the design process. So the throwaway culture is rapidly spreading globally, and we are losing a lot of valuable resources. It feels like we are spending money on getting this garbage far out of our sites, but do not think about making new stuff from these discarded materials.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's even worse that there's almost little or no attention being paid to waste management or disposal of waste in the development plans of so many countries. So you see like countries that are growing their economy but do not actually had like waste. How do we manage the waste? How, when the population increases, how do we manage waste? We don't think of that. We don't have that foresight. And it's only after waste has become a big public health issue or pollution issue that we start running around for solutions. So we are consistently missing the opportunity to not only save our environment, but from pollution, but also build wealth in the process. You know, it would be nice if we consider the fact that waste management can actually be a form of an economic opportunity for a country or for a region, but we don't think of things that way.
Yeah. So, and that brings us to our main point of this discussion. What are these opportunities? What are the opportunities available in the waste management space?
Yeah, so as it was stated during our introduction, we will be going through opportunities in that exist to make wealth from food, paper, electronics, and plastics, and I'll go in that order. So first is food waste. Food loss amounts to, and waste amounts to 1.3 billion tons per year. So this big number is not just like from the waste of food or like throwing away food. It actually also represents the wastage of resources, including the land that was plowed to plant the food, the water that goes into processing the food or, you know, irrigating the soil, and all of the labor involved. It also involves the energy that was used to produce and transport the food.
And it also contributes to global warming and climate change, because greenhouse gases are emitted during food production and distribution activities, and methane is released during the decay of the wasted food.
So I looked up ways to reduce or recycle food waste or reuse food waste, and I'll be talking about two major ways. One is to make new products from the food that would have ended up as trash, and the second example I'll be giving is composting. And I will go in that order because I feel like it is important that we prevent the food from becoming waste in the first place, instead of trying at the end to think of what we can do with the waste. If you can prevent waste, that's perfect. So an example of a company that makes money from preventing waste is Watermelon Water. They are a US-based company, and they help farmers turn loss into a profit by using discarded or blemished watermelon. So most of the time when food is harvested, if you go to the grocery store, like you often find that the tomatoes, the watermelons, the pineapples, the oranges, they look perfect. They don't have blemishes. So there's actually a selection process that goes on at the farm after harvesting. Like only the best looking fruits get picked. So the if the apple has a weird shape, it won't be added just because of the shape. It doesn't mean it is not sweet. It does not mean it is not good. It's just because it doesn't look perfect. Which is bad, right? So that all of it,
Discrimination.
no discrimination against of this food. Like they are perfect, they're good to eat. It's just because of their look. Humans are obsessed with look. Anyways, going on. So this company, Watermelon Water, would take this discarded or blemished watermelon and use it to produce juice. And that's how they make profit. Another example is Matriarch Food. So Matriarch Food is also based in the US, and they upcycle farm surplus and fresh cut remnants into healthy, delicious, low sodium vegetable products for schools, hospitals, food banks, and other food services. So they also they are saving or they're preventing waste, but they're also offering like good products, fresh produce to all of these places. So another company I found is Sweet Benin. Sweet Benin is based in West Africa, and what they do is to create cashew juice.
Mhm.
So in Benin every year, only 10% of the 120 million kilograms of cashew fruit are actually processed. And in 2018, the company produced 180,000 bottles of cashew apple juice and is working to help cashew farmers supplement their off-season income. So I think that's a good opportunity. Like farmers are not only depending on what gets sold after cashew is harvested, but they also are able to make money when like cashew is not in season. As a Nigerian, I see opportunities to apply this in our country. Although I know there are some form of like things that people currently do in my country, but I see opportunities for fruits like mangoes or cherry fruits or tiger nuts, African walnuts. Like we have a lot of seasonal fruits that
Mhm.
you cannot buy all of them and finish them in the season. Like so many go to waste because we don't have the storage processes or the processing facilities to make them last longer. So I imagine like the mangoes can be dried into like fruit stews or those dried fruit snacks, or they can even be made to like mango juice or jam. So that way
Mm.
you are generating more income for farmers apart from just like selling them as actual fruits.
That sounds cool. Oh, yeah, let's start mango jam business.
I'm actually when I was preparing for it, I was actually really considering like this can be good business. Like dried mango fruits, mango jam, and we can export it. So what name do we give to it?
Maybe our listeners can name it. So, everyone, what do you think we should name our new product?
A good idea. Okay, please include it in the comments. You do. Um, the second opportunity is composting. So that's again, this is when the material this is when food has become waste. Composting is a natural process of recycling organic matter such as leaves and food scrap into valuable fertilizer that can enrich the soil and plants. So you can make money by offering organic waste pickup services at a cost. And then another way is to create the compost for sale to farms and gardens.
That's awesome, but like, I know you said you're going to talk about two, but please, we need to mention biofuel, biogas production because I'm the biogas girl. I'm more interested in that than composting, although
Mm-hmm.
they are both important. But I love biogas because you can convert this food waste into biogas and also have fertilizer from the process. So I just love the whole idea of the anaerobic digestion for nutrient recovery and energy recovery. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think waste to biogas, food waste to biogas is definitely a great idea. Like it's a great solution, and the fact that you're actually producing energy. So if you converted your food waste to cooking gas, for example, like you're not only reducing waste, but you're actually able to produce energy or produce an alternative source of energy instead of burning fossil fuel, which is great. I do think that there's not one solution to
Definitely.
solving waste issues or sustainability in general. There's like combination of solutions that will work. So if it is composting that works for you, go for it. If it is preventing the food waste, go for it. If it is waste to biogas, please go for it. Anyone works. Okay, so
Yeah.
the next is paper. What's up with paper?
And so paper recycling may be like the top success story when it comes to recycling. So nearly all kinds of paper can be recycled except a few like brown and craft envelopes or carbon papers, tissues and coffee cups. So though paper recycling can be capital intensive, but at the entrepreneurial level, there are opportunities available in the provision of services such as collection, transportation, and sorting. One of China's richest women, Zhang Yi, formed the company in the 1990s to collect paper from US and Europe and ship it to China, where it is recycled into corrugated cardboard. This is then made into boxes that package products made from China. The company has since grown into $1 billion enterprise. In 2006, Forbes named Zhang Yin the wealthiest woman in China.
Respect.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So maybe you can be the next richest person in your area or country by dealing in waste.
True. And products all around the world are often shipped in boxes, and the demand for packaging will only increase as purchasing power increases. Like people will keep buying more stuff, people will have to keep shipping more stuff globally. And most of your products come in boxes, right? Like when you buy something on Amazon, or even when you send something out of the country, they come in boxes. So there will still be a demand for packaging, for paper packaging. So there's like a lot of opportunity here. Instead of cutting down new forests to make paper, why not make the most out of what is already in circulation?
That's true. Although paper cannot be infinitely recycled because they are made of long fibers which shorten after each recycling process. So you can still recycle them up to 5-7 times before the fibers becomes too short. And at this point, they can be processed into something like egg cartons.
So even when they reach their end of life, like when they can't be recycled anymore, like there's still something you can make them into to make money. You can make egg cartons, as Marissa mentioned. You can also use them as like fillings for packaging. Like if you're packaging things like fragile materials that can break, you can add shredded paper as the like pillow, so it doesn't get what's the word? So it doesn't get destroyed during shipping.
Sure. So another waste material to consider is e-waste. So by e-waste, I mean electronic waste. So e-waste constitutes a health and environmental hazard because they contain toxic additives or hazardous substances such as mercury, which damages the human brain or coordination system. They require a special collection and disposal process, which is one way to build a business from it. But another thing becoming trendy in this space is electronic repair. But honestly, it's just becoming trendy in the Western world because since when I was born in Nigeria, and I'm sure in like African countries, like repair has been a big thing. It's cheaper to repair than to buy a new one in Nigeria, but in like the US, I know it's cheaper to just buy than to repair. So I guess you guys can learn something from us.
So if you're in a place, if you're in a location like Nigeria, for example, it's you can start a whole business from just recycling or
From repairing.
repairing or refurbishing electronic items. But it's a problem in most Western countries because of the right to repair. So these big tech companies actually lobby millions of dollars to block people from repairing. So Apple would tell you that, oh, when you bring in your Apple product for repair, they tell you that they would replace it and repair the other one or refurbish it. There's no repair happening. You are getting a new one basically, and
Yeah,
then
true.
the old phone that you took probably gets like it would get shredded. So there's so much that can be done with it. Like,
But maybe, I don't know. Maybe they also like repaired and recycle. I don't know. I don't know.
it's
Just thinking.
I read in a book they have they have a third party company that they work with that collects all of their products for recycling. But I've worked with an electronic waste recycling company before, and they mentioned that most of the electronics actually get shredded.
Oh,
Then
wow.
they take out the component parts. So it sounds interesting to me because it's like lithium, one of the metals used to make electronics, and that can be found in most solar or electric cars rather,
Mhm.
is being mined. But there's like why can't we recycle the lithium in these electronics and use them to make new ones? Why do we have to keep mining,
Yeah,
to make it's interesting. Do you want to learn something else that is interesting? So
of course. Of course.
yeah, so all the medals offered at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games were made from metals that were collected from recycled electronics.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah, cool, right? So over 6.2 million used mobile phones, along with digital cameras, handheld games, and laptops were collected nationwide, and then they were able to extract 30 kilograms of gold that were used to make gold medals. Then they extracted over 4,000 kilograms of silver and 2,700 kilograms of bronze. So there's a lot of precious metals
Mhm.
in your electronics. Even if it doesn't get repaired,
Mhm.
you can actually extract the metals and make something out of them. So it's
Yeah.
absurd that we are throwing away stuff. Like it's yeah.
Sure. So on to the last material for the day, plastic.
Famous plastic.
So plastic has become the most notorious form of waste.
Yeah, it really is. But again, whose fault? It's not plastic's fault. It is we humans producing the plastic and not making good use or actually managing how we throw it away. So only 10% of all the plastic that was ever produced has been recycled.
So what has happened to the 90%?
A variety of things. So some are incinerated, either to be converted to energy or in developing countries where they practice open burning, like they actually burned, which is bad for the earth. A large percentage do end up in the landfill. So even like for example in the US, even when you dutifully put your plastic in the recycling bin, it does not guarantee that it will get recycled. And over a long period of time, the plastic will break down into microplastics. So plastics do not degrade for thousands, tens of thousands, millions of years. But they get broken down into tiny particles, and those particles contaminate our food. They contaminate the air. They contaminate water, and they also cause harm to sea creatures or what creatures that live in the water. So I always campaign for going plastic free, especially single use plastic. So things like water bottles or plastic cups, like you can do away with those things. But often I also think about how or what can be done with all of the plastic that's been thrown away. Like why do we not make them into something else? How can we repurpose them and prevent them from ending up, especially in the ocean where they cause harm to sea animals? The most inspiring solution I've found is precious plastics. But that's it for today.
Oh wow, Justin. That was abrupt. But
We're
yeah,
out of time.
truly, we will need to end the episode here. And in the next part of this series, we'll be discussing precious plastic, like Justin just mentioned. And this precious plastic is a big global community working to fix the plastic waste problem, and it is open to anyone.
Yeah. So until then, reflect on how you can consciously reduce single-use plastic in your daily life and think about a business solution for waste around you. If you also find an interesting example, you can share with us, or if you find an interesting idea, don't worry, we won't steal your idea. There's enough space in this kind of life. So, but don't forget to share with us in the comment. And if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please subscribe.
Subscribe, follow, rate us, all the good things, share. So before we just go away from this episode, I have a good news to share. So earlier this year, Sustainability Nuggets got featured as one of the best 80s sustainability podcasts on the web. Yeah. And thank you guys, because without our audience listening to us and sharing our content, there's no way we'll be on this list. And last time I checked, we were ranked 19. So just imagine,
that's
19 cool. On the web. So yeah, like, it's really encouraging that our efforts are being recognized, and I know we can even do better. We can become number one in the world. Yeah, and so this list was featured on Feed Sport blog. I'm going to be leaving the link down in the description box. It's a live link, so the position keeps changing, because I think the very first time we were like 40 or something, but now we're 19. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you can check them out. And yeah, that's it. See you guys in our next episode. Bye.
Bye.